Gundam Astray, Gold Frame Amatsu. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2 R's, 2 B's from YouTube and Gundam.tk, and fans of Gundam Astray may enjoy this review as I'm taking a look at this mouthful here. It's the Gundam Astray Gold Frame Amatsu from Gundam Seed Astray. This kit came out in July of 2006 and sells for 3,800 Japanese yen. Now this is a 1/100th non-grade kit. It's not high grade and it's not master grade. It's number 13 in the Seed Destiny line, even though that's a little bit misleading, and that's the most important feature. It's got tons of gold make shiny parts. Fans of Gundam Seed may not be familiar with the gold frame and the red frame and the blue frame, and that's because they were in spin-off comics that were running at the same time that the anime was airing in Gundam Ace. And Gundam Seed Astray, which starred the red frame and Logiel, and my horrible pronunciation, as the protagonist, and the blue frame as his frenemy. Basically, the antagonist of the series was the Gold Frame Amatsu, which went through a bunch of different revisions. What you see here in my hands is X Astray, which actually serves as volume 4 and 5 of the Astray series. They have a focus on 2 new characters, but I'll get into that later. But in the end, I wanted to have a bad guy to stand beside and fight the red frame, and there's nobody better than this Astray gold frame right here. When you're looking at older series, it's always good to turn to the Bible. In this case, I've got the 2010 one here. But for those of you that saw my review of this book, you'll notice that if you're looking for seed kits, you'd want to actually go back to the old 2007 one because you're going to have a lot more information there. When you're looking at Seed Destiny, you can see that after Justice and after the Legend, the Legend was in June, then the Astray Gold Frame was in July. All of a sudden it cuts ahead to 2009 with the green frame before being followed up on the next page with other 1/100ths like the Savior and the Akatsuki. Not to mention that if you go back to the regular 1/100th seed kits, after the blue frame came out in 2004, the next one here they've got is the regular Gold Frame Astray, and that came out in 2009, though it did have a convention exclusive long before that. But anyway, you had this one, the powered up version, before we actually got a regular release of the regular one. On another note, I still remember back before I had watched most of the Gundam series, and I was in the store and I saw this gold frame, and I thought that this was one of the best looking Gundams of them all. You'll see that it has high heels, and I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, but it's got unique, it's got tons of extra parts, having the gold make parts. If I was to buy a Gundam with no knowledge whatsoever of any of the series or any of the manga, this is probably the one I'd choose, and another inspiration, besides just having a bad guy for the red frame, for me to pick this up. Before delving into the many different versions, let's take a look around the box, and something that's sort of cool about this, a lot of times Bandai will hide the unpainted kit from view in terms of all what you're going to see around here. They might give you a little tiny picture that's often going to have the body turned in such a way that its worst part is going to be hidden. But instead they're advertising here that this is right out of the box with perhaps just a touch of lining. But when you see it there, look at all the colors. The black is really shiny and the gold is very much so as well. And you may notice that the arms are not symmetrical, which has to do with the series. It has 2 completely different arms. You have a back view with a huge weapon pack with the way they're plugged in there. These can also be brought forward. You're going to have whips that go out and additional swords. Here it is with the huge backpack deployed forward. You're going to notice that this right arm is going to have the weapons for fans of early Seed, the Blitz Gundam. Well, what happened when Kira fought him? Well, it certainly affected what happened in the Astray manga after that. On the left hand, you're going to have a very neat Wolverine claw that pops out there with 3 claws pointing down. Tons of gold inner frame there before you put on the backpack. This attachment looks like it sticks out a little bit. I wonder how that's going to work in practice. And without the backpack, you can really see there just how different the arms are and how much gold there is showing through, which is something on even a Master Grade Strike Freedom you didn't seem to get all that much. This particular version of the Astray Gold Frame Amatsu is from Seed Destiny Astray, which is the follow-up to X Astray, sort of volume 6 in the Astray series. And you have Londo Minasahaku, who is the pilot. Boy or girl, it can be a little bit confusing. This one is the sister. The brother was the one who showed up in the first series before meeting his untimely death at the hands of the blue frame sword. To the manual, where again you just got that great pose, but I'm worried that maybe the legs are not going to be able to keep this thing balanced without doing silly poses like that. Then you get into the pilot. So here's Londo Gina Sahaku, and here is Mina Sahaku. So this was the antagonist in the original series. This is the one from the more current series, although I haven't read the most recent one, so I don't know exactly what's going on. Inside, unlike some other manuals, you're going to get some nice color here on the front page. Look at that, lots of nice gold plates. The A plate is interesting and big parts there, as you can imagine for a backpack of this size. Some kitty type explanation of how to put everything together, table of contents, how to put the parts, and then you're going to build the chest, the unique arms. You can't just do mirror images of those as you're putting them together because they're completely different before we get into the real stuff on the inside. A little bit of spoilers here, but with the Gold Frame in its very first appearance in the manga, it showed up with missing a right arm and a huge bazooka before it took on the Junk Guild. However, it later came back in a much better upgraded form where you're going to have the Blitz's arm over on the right side and a cool set of helmet and a black color scheme, which certainly increased its menace before it joined its third form, which is here the Amatsu. And you get those huge weapons over the side, but there are a few changes between this one and the one that I've actually got in the kit form. You'll notice that it has male type feet and not high heels, and it also doesn't have the swords down on the hips. And yes, the way it can use those weapons is very, very effective. For its fourth form, you can see it here in Astray 1 and 2. Just when the Junk Guild goes to visit, you can see that you've got it right there, and it has an incredibly nice splash page, which is shown here in the manual as its fourth form, and the one that you have in your hands as it shows up in Astray Destiny. Anyway, there's too many comics to keep track of. You can see down there the siblings in a very touching moment, and the newest pilot. I have to say, a little bit of spoilers here, that I was really disappointed that they had such a great entrance for this in X Astray, and then I figured that the Red Frame would be fighting this one at the end, and it just plain never happened. However, I haven't read Astrays or Astray Destiny, or the ones that have come since, and I know that this makes tons of appearances, so hopefully it gets to show off all of its cool weapons with lots of comics to come. Otherwise, going through the manual, you'll notice that there are very big parts when you put together, lots of white on the pages, a big explanation back there how to bring the binders forward, cool poses, and a color page just to show off the cool line art. Back page of the manual again showing off, and you'll notice that I haven't said the name of the weapons because outside of the Tricaros Kai, which came from the Blitz Gundam and is a modified version, some of these, like the Magano Ikutachi, they just have ridiculously long names. There's the Wolverine Claw there. There's the sword that goes on the hips of the new one, not on the old one. Then you've got the whips that come forward, and the Mirage Colloid. That's probably the only one that I can say with any confidence. Height, 18 meters. Another thing to possibly note is just when you've got these kind of mangas, it is very easy to have variations, and we're talking about the blue frame having 500 different forms and the red frame getting more and more and more. Because when you think about it, you've just got one artist who has to draw that. It's not too difficult. But if you start changing the designs in an animation series, if let's say the Strike Gundam had 25 different forms over 50 episodes, that would be a lot of stress on the animators. So it's something that you really get to see people's imaginations go wild, especially for the mecha designers and for the artists, and it's one of the appeals of reading something for the comics, so you can count this as canon as you choose, but anyway, it's certainly a lot of fun. I'm going to wrap up my look around the box there with this part here. There's always just lots to talk about because if you've seen Gundam Seed, you know who the Strike and the Freedom Gundam are, but there are a lot of people who may not be as familiar with this, and, well, there's just a lot of revisions to talk about. And that's going to weigh in on the verdict because there's quite a few things that I don't like about this new one compared to the old one. And to be honest, I'd rather have the old one, but maybe that's just because I haven't read all the comics that the newer one shows up in. Anyway, everybody, stay tuned for the next part where I'll take a look at all the plates and see what we can glean from there before it all gets put together. Thanks for watching. See you next time, everybody. I can't believe I now have somebody I can talk to about shoes.